Welcome back. I'm Lauren Maloney. Thanks for joining us on What Matters This Week. We are talking about the big British vote, Brexit. Joining me now is John Sherman, financial advisor from Edward Jones. John, thank you so much.
Great to be here.
I've got to ask, how many phone calls did you get this week? Was it a little crazy?
A little crazy. I think our firm is very good at keeping people's expectations in check. We are a long-term firm. We have long-term rules to adhere to, meaning buy and hold, stick to quality. We got a few calls, but it wasn't bad. You know, we've had a lot of dips over the years. I'll mention a few. We've had crises in Brazil, Mexico, Argentina, Russia, China, Hong Kong, and China. And of course, 2008 in our own country, our own financial market. So we've weathered this pretty well, I think, in the past.
You know, I had actually talked to some family members who, you know, about 2 weeks ago had a meeting with their financial advisor, and there was nothing on the horizon that, you know, that person spoke of. Did this come as a surprise to you or something you were not worried about that week?
No, it was a surprise to me. I thought the British people, including, of course, Wales and Scotland and Ireland, would vote to stay in the common market, the EU. They didn't. I think the vote was about 52-48, as I recall, in terms of percentages. But it wasn't a surprise to me. And, you know, the Brits have their own currency, the British pound sterling, and they never embraced the euro. So that might have been, had something to do with it. But if you've seen the markets, you know, we had a rough day in the United States on Friday. Our markets went down about 3.5%, which was the lowest in the Western world. Other countries' stock markets went down quite a bit more, and they went down again on Monday. They've rebounded, so all the losses of last Friday and Monday have basically been erased as if nothing happened, which is interesting.
Now, if Britain falls into a recession, what does that mean for us?
Sure. Obviously, we hope that doesn't happen. I don't think it will happen. Our firm doesn't think it will happen. The rules of the game are going to change. You know, there'll be differences in trading patterns, but life goes on. The British economy is the 4th or 5th largest economy in the world, I believe. And it's a very powerful trading partner. Certainly, for the United States and Western Europe in particular, they want to move forward. And I think it'll actually be a good thing. I think we're already hearing about changes that are going to be eased into. Nobody's going to rush into anything.
Right, and this is going to take some time, you know, 2, maybe 3 years.
Absolutely. And by the way, we all know that nobody ever changes their mind, right? So there could be another vote. There will be a new administration. David Cameron is the Prime Minister. He's already announced he will not be seeking to extend his term in office, and we're hearing that that could happen as soon as October, 1 month before our presidential election. So there's going to be lots of things going on the next couple of years. Boris Johnson, the former mayor of London, announced he would not seek that office. He doesn't want the job. And so who knows what's going to happen. And the head of the Conservative Party apparently doesn't want the job. But I think it's very interesting that markets have rebounded both in Europe, in Western Europe, Britain, and United States.
You mentioned the United States election as well. What could happen? What's the future, maybe the forecast for November 9th for the United States?
Sure. I've been with Edward Jones through, I think, about 5 or 6 presidents, and life goes on, as I said earlier. There'll be no change. Presidents really don't make economic decisions. They're our leaders. They hold the torch. They represent our interests, but really it's a fiscal situation. The Federal Reserve, the Treasury Department, unemployment, or the opposite, and we're pretty bullish going forward. We're not particularly worried about it. It doesn't really matter who the president is insofar as trade is concerned. So we'll wait and see, but the business of business keeps going on, and that's
so even if we wake up November 9th and it's, you know, a bit lower, you don't forecast any big change going forward the next 6 months to a year?
We don't. You know, I heard something yesterday that between 41 and 47% of all Americans have less than $100,000 saved, and that's what our firm does. We only deal with individual investors, and it's so important to keep saving. You know, the stock market hasn't gone up much in the last 2 years. So right now, this week, when the markets were down, we were very busy asking people to consider adding to their quality positions and keep growing their nest egg because they're going to need it later.
Okay. John, I really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be right back on What Matters This Week.